Oh, we're live. We're live on both YouTube and X and Twitter. I call it Twitter. Welcome along to another live stream. And all things Fulham. I know it's Man City v Bournemouth tonight. I don't really care for it. I know we're out of Europe in terms of the race, so I'm going to go live loads of times over the summer, and of course, in pre-season for transfers and stuff like that, and for everything else. But now we're going to go live and just talk about all things Fulham for the what's been going on in the last 48 hours or so. Some good stuff, some sad stuff, some exciting stuff. So let's chat all things Fulham this evening. I am live on YouTube, so watching on the YouTube channel, thank you very much. Please subscribe. I promise you that I will bring the YouTube channel back to life at the end of the season, and we'll go from there for 25, 26. It's very, very exciting. I'm getting some Wi-Fi signal coming up. If my connection is awful, please do let me know. I can see my brother playing his whatever game he's playing on his PS4. Might be like Minecraft or something. I don't know. I don't really know what he does. But let's talk. First of all, Brentford away, fantastic. I mean, absolutely brilliant to win that fixture. It's obviously 24 hours later, you find out it's now not impossible for Fulham to qualify for Europe, which is obviously frustrating, is obviously disappointing. We can talk about that, and we can talk about, has this season been a good season, an overachieving season, underachieving season, and talk about all the stuff that came up today with Harry Wilson as well. Perry saying, let's go up the Fulham. So I've got this thing where you actually see the comments on screen. I'm sure people watching can see it on screen. I can also bring it up on screen. So yeah, looking forward to doing more live streams. I think I did one about a week and a half ago. What was it, after that press conference where I spoke to Marco? And actually, I really do want to speak about Marco Silva as well. I mean, tomorrow night is a massive night in terms of what could happen, the knock-on effect of what I believe. I spoke to a Brentford club I spoke to Brentford last week in preparation for their matchday program, and basically said that if Ange Postecoglou was to get sacked from Spurs, regardless of what happens in the Europa League final, I believe it's going to have a huge knock-on effect for a few managers over in and around the Premier League. I could be wrong. I'm going to go until probably my battery runs out. I'm on 88%. So we'll be live for at least 45 minutes to an hour talking all things Fulham. Leave your comments below. I'll obviously have to plug my Patreon at some point as well to get some more people in during the summer. We got one person in today as well, so thank you to Keith. I don't know if he's going to be watching this. Thank you to Keith for subscribing. And, so excited. I've never been more excited about a pre-season ever. And that's because of what happened last pre-season. In terms of going out there and experiencing it all. I just thought it was one of the best experiences I've had, not only of my career, but of my life. It was just so fun. And I was actually on my own. I was traveling alone, which I'm quite comfortable doing. And I really hope that I get to do it again this summer. And I just cannot wait. I can't wait. I love pre-season so much. And yeah, we'll get on to pre-season later because I've got more issues to talk about. If you guys have any questions, which I've seen a couple come through, please put them in and we'll talk about it. I want to stream at least once a week up until like the beginning of June, and then once the transfers start to kick in, I want to be streaming almost every night on YouTube, because there's going to be news hitting us every day with good news, bad news, optimistic news, and stuff like that. So I can't wait to react to it. Yeah, so let's get into some questions. Perry, FFC Perry, what's your realistic dream transfer for next season? It's a really difficult question. I've been asked this loads of times in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm really bad with coming up with specific players we should sign for our club, for our model, for our philosophy. And I landed on a player last week, spoke to a friend about it, and realized that it's incredibly unrealistic. And that was Harvey Barnes. And the reason I say that it's unrealistic is because of the fee that Newcastle paid to bring him in from Leicester, which I believe was about £40 million. And then you then sort of think about that and you think, well, they'd want to make a profit, and I don't spend much on a winger. But we should spend big on a winger. I just don't think with English tax as well, Harvey Barnes is attainable with the budget we have. So I'm going to give my default answer, which is Mihailo Ivanovic right now, who is a striker who plays for young Serbian and literally is mini Mitrovic. So I would love to bring him in to compete with Rodrigo Muniz. So thank you, Perry, for that question. Jack asks, do you feel like if we did qualify for Europe, you think we would have suffered either in Europe or in the so sort of glad we can build this summer? Yeah, I mean, look, there's two sides to it. Like, you look at what Palace did at the weekend. They qualified in the Europa League, and that suddenly means not only is it great news for them, they obviously are really excited to be in it, but you also look at the other side, which would have happened if we would have got into Europe and gone, oh, we've now got to play Thursday, Sunday, and that's just going to have a knock-on effect on the squad. It means that it has to be really fit. We've got enough players to rotate people in, and obviously it's a 25-man squad for Europe, and it's a 20. It might even be a 30-man squad for Europe, actually. But anyway, you need that extra players. You need that extra rotation. And so basically, if we did qualify for Europe, we could have suffered. We could have thrived. It's hard to say. It depends on the squad would have looked. It's easier to say we would have suffered because there's more games and there's more strain on the squad. But you could have easily said, no, I'd go with I think we'd suffer. But I'm saying that now because we don't have it. Obviously, I wanted it. It wasn't meant to be this year. But we'll go again next year. Thank you, Jack, for that question. Roberto on YouTube, thank you. Do you think King starts / decent sub minutes versus City? I actually, to be fair, that changes everything now, doesn't it? It does change everything because now where, before the Brighton game last night, we were thinking, well, if we beat City, we're in with a chance of finishing in 8th. So we'll go for it. But now that we're 4 points behind them, I would like to think Josh King was to start against City. That would be huge. I know the game probably won't be televised because it's not too relevant to the bigger Premier League picture. I think there are bigger games that, well, maybe not. It depends on City's position. I suppose that City are playing right now, aren't they, against Bournemouth? So maybe we'll see what that means. But I would say that I think he will be on the bench. I think he should get minutes, especially in front of the home crowd. He was brilliant one against Brentford. I saw him come on at the time he came on, and I was like, okay, he's going to get 25 minutes here. And he was fantastic, not only in the pre-assist, I suppose you want to say, pre-assist for Kenny Tete. Not only that, but he makes that run, which sort of attracts a couple of defenders and gives Harry the space to cut in. So his contributions were phenomenal. And if that doesn't earn him minutes against City, I don't know what will. So I feel as if he will play his part against Manchester City, and that's obviously a great opportunity for the fans to see for the end of the season. I said on the podcast yesterday, the Fulhamish podcast, that I believe that he will now step away from the under-21s and be part of the team permanently next season. I probably won't play any minutes for the under-21s and hopefully play. Well, actually, let me rephrase. I think he should play some minutes for the under-21s just so he keeps his fitness up and gets enough game time. But the priority should be that he should be at squad for 38 games Premier League plus all the cups. He should be playing. He should be in at least 40 match squad first team, barring any injury. So that's my opinion on it. So thank you very much for that comment, Roberto. And yeah, I mean, we don't have to go in particular order in terms of what we talk about, but just going back on Brentford, just brilliant performance, brilliant response. Obviously, soft was to concede, and it was never, ever a penalty. But fantastic to score 2 goals in 2 minutes, just like we did at Craven Cottage against Brentford, beating them, knowing they had their lap of appreciation. Fulham fans staying behind and giving it some and singing, and Marcus Silva's reaction to the fans after the game, Tom Kearney's ovation as well. Obviously, that's now a topic of conversation. Oh, Jack with another comment. let's have a look. It's definitely, we should address comments because it's nice of people to ask questions. I believe your profile picture was probably taken, looks like, is that Spurs away? Looks like it was Spurs away. I feel like we do need to shift players like Reed, Vinny, Willian, potentially TC if he wants to go, but clear some space up to bring in some players. I feel like we need more ambition from the board. Thoughts? I think we reached an impasse right now where, I don't want to be rude, but the quality of the squad, if we want to compete again the way we've competed this season, needs to go up a gear. And that's because everyone else is going to get better. Everyone else is going to use that investment money, the Premier League television money, all the money they bring in to get better. And Fulham cannot still, as Marco says, on a weekly basis. So I believe that Reed will, I think Reed will leave. And this is just personal. I don't have any intel whatsoever. I think Reed will leave. Vinicius will leave. Willian will leave, as in those two will not be signed onto new contracts. I think TC, I mean, I don't want him to leave. I know what you mean by like the quality of the squad's got to, and obviously TC's still an unbelievable player. And we saw that on Sunday. I'd like TC to retire. I wouldn't want him to go to another club. I want to see him play for another club. So I would say that I'd like TC to stay, and I think he will stay. Hopefully that gets to this. If he doesn't stay, if he's leaving, then surely the fans have got to be the club have got to let the fans know that he's going to be leaving, and they'd have to tell us on Thursday or tomorrow, because then fans can get prepared to say goodbye to him at Craven Cottage on Sunday. And I'm sure there'll be a big ovation of him. They'll have a lap of appreciation, and that'll be his moment to say goodbye to fans. But if there's no news on that, it's going to be one. Everyone's going to be looking at body language and like, oh, like is he not? Because that's the question I asked Marco after the game on, was it Sunday? I said, that was a moment between the fans and Tom Kenny. I don't know if it means anything, but it feels like that could mean something. And he said that ovation sort of just has nothing to do with his contract situation. We're trying to tie him down to another year. And from that, would he have that ovation? Would he have done that particular celebration at full time? If he hadn't scored, maybe not. So I think it was the fact that he scored, which coincided with the fact that we won, and then he got his, and obviously, being there 10 years at the club as well, it's a little bit more special than obviously Harry Wilson, who's only been here for 4 years. 4 years, Harry Wilson, and that's obviously who we should talk about next. Look, I understand how the game works. I understand that the agents need to do what's best for their clients. The agents need to get the best deal for their players. Sometimes they are out for themselves. That's obviously something, but I don't appreciate. That's why I commented in the way I commented. If you saw my tweet earlier, probably a little bit hot-headed. Probably should have reworded it a little bit, but I didn't appreciate the fact. This is what made me angry and made me annoyed, that we have this incredible moment with Harry Wilson, who's just, by the way, signed on for another year at the club, and then you have all this. It's just the way Fabrizio Romano works. Obviously, the agent may message Romano or message someone on his team and say, "Can you get the word out that Harry's not happy? Harry's not happy with the amount of game time he's getting," and it's almost like a mini threat. It's a threat if you think about it. It's basically saying, if I don't know if my internet's lagging. I apologize if it is. We're living in a big household with lots of internet streaming sites, so I apologize if it's terrible to watch, but hopefully you can hear me correctly. It's like a little threat. He said, well, yeah, he might have signed on, but he could still leave the club this summer. We want the assurance that he's getting more minutes, or he wants a better contract, so that he can extend his stay at the club. If not, then he might be happy to leave the club. What annoys me is the wording of the tweet. I'll get it up. Let me get it up just so it's easier to reference. The wording of the tweet really annoyed me. Albeit I sort of know why I know why these things are tweeted. I know why these things are said. Let's have a look. So Fabrizio Romano, Fulham have triggered an extra year, ... But Harry Wilson will either sign a new deal or leave the club this summer. It sounds like an ultimatum. And it sounds as if Romano doesn't know that. He doesn't know that. He's been told that apparently that's the case. Wilson not expected to play on the year extension. And what does that mean? Not expected to play, as not expected to play at all, like any minutes. And why would we sign him to a new deal? It doesn't make any sense. It's like a threat. It doesn't come across very well. It's Romano's game. That's what he does. He'll probably tweet about it about a million more times. I'll probably, because it's only Fulham, to be fair. It's only Fulham. If it was a player in a top 6 club, then we would never, ever hear the end of it. And look, obviously, respect journalists and whatever, but I just don't like the way. I don't like the way he goes about his business. I don't like and people could say, "Oh yeah, but that's just the agent putting that across." Yeah, it is, but it's also the way it's been published by him, and it's scaremongering. It's scary because a lot of fans who won't know how it works in terms of agent driven. Like a lot of people are because transfers are such a huge part of the game now, people are more aware of how it works and stuff, and people commenting saying it's agent driven, which I completely agreed with, and I probably should have mentioned that in the tweet. But people will read that who don't have the idea of how it works and go, "Oh, Wilson wants." That doesn't make any sense. He's just signed a new deal, and it gives off the wrong impression. I understand the fact that the agents want the best deal for their clients. I understand the fact that Harry White might not be happy with the amount of minutes he's played. That being said, the fact that before the Brentford game at home, he didn't get enough minutes in the team. Adama was playing really well. Iwobi was unbelievably well, and then of course something's happened. Oh, Wolves have scored at Crystal Palace. Wolves have scored at Crystal Palace. And Mahmoud has scored for Man City. I'm not sure. Someone needs to confirm that. I'm sure. Or maybe I turned off like alert for Man City like last week. Sorry, let me just finish the point I was on. Oh yeah, Man City 1-0. Why did I not get the alert for that? Pretty weird. Why did I not get the alert for that? So yeah, I can't remember what I was saying now. Oh yeah, basically that Wilson was playing not many minutes before the Brentford home game. He then comes on, scores 2 goals, goes on a really good run of form where he scored against Palace the next week. The header against Bournemouth, correct me, there might be another in there. Then he gets injured and he's out for ages, or for a long, well, not for ages, but for a long time. He comes back fairly quickly, gets back in the team, gets his minutes back, scores against Brentford. If he hadn't got injured, he would have got tons of more minutes this season. I think he wants to show us that he's going to be one of the first choice wingers that we have next season. I think he should. He's still got the quality to do so. The amount of sensational goals he scored, and this season, last season, throughout his time at the club, he might be hitting the peak of his career now. How old is he? I think he's like 26, 27. He might even be 25. I think he's 26. I should probably double check that. But yeah, that's why I had an issue with it, because I just thought it almost takes away. It doesn't take away from what he did on Sunday, but it's like, and I get this is why the tweet time as well. I'm not a complete idiot. I know why, because everyone's gone, well, look at the goal. He was put on MNF last night. Everyone's be watching that. First up on MNF was with Wilson. His agent's probably gone, okay, this is a great time to pounce and go, yeah, we've got the extension deal, but we want a better contract, or we want more minutes. And yeah, it's how football works. I'm still learning. I'm a journalist who's only been in the game for 3 or 4 seasons now. I'm still trying to learn how it all works. And yeah, I saw the Romano tweet. I started raging basically at my phone. Joe Sanson was the one who calmed me down a little bit and said, look, it's almost a non-story. It's sort of a non-story. I just didn't enjoy the timing of it, because I think it's going to confuse a lot of people, make people angry, and make people think differently from how they thought about Wilson 48 hours ago. That's what annoys me. Oh, Crystal Palace have scored in Kitsia. God. Yeah, this is a crazy night for the Premier League already. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. If anyone has any thoughts on it, please put it in the comments so we can talk about it. I don't know how many people are watching on YouTube, but if you are, please do subscribe to the channel because there'll be lots more content to come. Santa Dude, no question. Just say you do a great job covering Fulham. I'm following the club from Switzerland. I visit the cottage several times a season, so nice to have a dedicated journalist. Thank you very much. Honestly, it's been such a fun season. I'm going to be at the City game on Sunday, so it means I've only missed one game all season, which was Aston Villa away. Probably didn't miss much within that game. One of our poorest performances, but it's been an absolute pleasure to do the first team in the under-21s this season, and hopefully I can do it even better next season. Trying to do under 18s next season, but it's really hard to do that as well because the under 18s usually play at the same time as the first team. Whereas under 21s, it's more like Friday nights and Monday nights and Tuesday nights. And under 18s, it's usually Saturday mornings, which obviously is impossible in 2 years at once. There's been requests for me to do the women's team, and I would love to do the women's team. It's just that usually they play on Sunday, and Sunday is the day I sort of rest up because it's after a few days of games and press conferences, and especially like if you're traveling away and stuff, back then going to another game on the Sunday usually does take it out of you. Like I wanted to go to Southampton away for the under-21s when we lost the other day. I think it might be 2 weeks today actually. Is it today? What day is it today? Tuesday. Oh, almost just over 2 weeks ago. And I got back from a stag and I was just completely run out of energy, so I didn't do it. I'm sort of glad I didn't go because they lost by, 5 goals to 2 or 4 goals to 2 at the end. And yeah, it's been a great season for the under-21s. Great season for the first team. So yeah, how's this? Someone put across the question to me one day saying, has this season been a failure if Fulham don't qualify for Europe? And he was like, no. The aim was to finish in the top half, to break the points tally record. We've done that. We haven't guaranteed ourselves in the top half, but if you break your Premier League points tally record, then no way is it being a failure. To compete in this current climate of Premier League, where it's been one of those seasons where a lot of teams who you weren't expecting to compete for Europe have competed for Europe. No one really expected Forest. No one really expected Bournemouth. No one really expected Fulham. Team Brentford as well, maybe. Teams like Brighton and Villa have been up there for a few years. Then maybe people expect them to compete with the resources they have and the way they go about their recruitment. And Man United and Spurs, no one expected them to be so bad. And I don't think the same will happen next season. And this is the thing now, as what I started this sort of discussion off with. That game tomorrow has monumental consequences, not only on Tottenham, not only on Man United, but I believe the whole Premier League. Because there's reports saying that even if Ange Postecoglou wins the Europa League, he's going to get sacked, which, by the way, is crazy because they haven't had one in so many years. But there's also a point to make that if they don't win Europa League tomorrow and it's United who win the final, then I think that Ange will get sacked. And then suddenly, I think the silver rumours to Spurs have definitely evaporated or at least gone away. The Saudi stuff's all gone very quiet. I don't think that's going to happen. I know my internet's lagging. I apologise if it's a horrible watch. Then I could. No, the router's here, but it just connects onto the wrong one because the internet's just always letting me down. I need to sort that out if I'm going to live stream more. I'm going to sort out the internet because it's a bit of a pain. It makes it very uncomfortable to watch. I've certainly been, when you're watching something on the internet, the connection from that other person or for the person who's streaming is poor. It makes you not want to watch. So I apologise for that. I'm going to have to fix that for the more important streams that come in the next few weeks. What was I saying? If I'd win, I think Ange will go. I saw today that links of Thomas Frank. I don't know if Frank will leave Brentford. Has he taken them as far as he possibly can? They just out in Europe. It's a very similar situation to Marco Silva at Fulham, really, isn't it? Obviously, Frank's been there a much longer time. If he goes to Spurs, then obviously Brentford gets in. They more likely would probably look for someone who's not in the Premier League, or they'd maybe go for a different type of manager that wouldn't create that knock-on effect. I think the knock-on effect would come if I read today that Nuno could leave Forest after that argument he had with the owner. I don't know. I really don't know. But again, that could cause issues. People that if Forest sack Nuno, they could easily go after Marco Silva, and if suddenly, if Forest made an offer for Marco Silva and showed all the resources they have and the budget they have to spend and blah blah blah, these are if, whats, and maybes. But in terms of that knock-on effect, it really could be quite dramatic. Of course, it might not be that dramatic. It could be 1 in, 1 out, and then everyone stays where they are. It's now 2-1 to Crystal Palace. Bloody hell, it turned it around. My brother is at that game tonight, but he's having a good time. 2 goals for Eddie Nketiah. My friend said, put all the money you have on Wolves to win. And I'm glad I didn't put anything on it because they are losing. They are losing, and we need Wolves to obviously get. Well, so I say we need, but it'd be nice if Wolves were to beat Brentford at the weekend so that we have a chance to finish above them. So they definitely can't get into 8th, and suddenly all the permutations of someone finishing 8th getting into Europe that evaporates for Brentford, and that'd be fantastic if the win against Fulham was the loss against Fulham was the reason they didn't get into 8th. That would be fantastic. Obviously, Brighton winning yesterday puts them in a pole position for 8th place. Then again, no one might get 8th place in terms of no one might get Europe from 8th place. It's not really budging here. This could be a poor connection for people watching. I apologize. Okay, let's have, there's a new comment coming in. Let's have a look from Cameron. We wouldn't trigger Wilson's extension if he wasn't in Marco's plans, like we didn't trigger Seri's 1 extension as he wasn't in Marco's plans. Doesn't make sense. You know what? That's a really first of all, that's a great comment, but that's always something that I've really wanted to ask Marco, but obviously it's never been like the right time or doesn't really make sense in the moment. But if I got a one-on-one with him where like I had a sit down with him, it wasn't like a press conference situation, one of my questions would be like, what was it that made you not want Seri in the Premier League? At the time when he was released, everyone was a bit like, wow, my God, like no Seri in the Premier League. He's been so good for us. Obviously, then we got in Japalinia and I was thinking about John Mikel Seri. But yeah, you're right. The fact of the matter is, Adama's going to be here next season. Jimenez is going to be here next season. Will be here next season. All because they have their part to play in this squad. Personally, I think Jimenez will be 3rd choice striker. I think he should be a choice striker. That's no disrespect. I know he scored at the weekend. He scored against Everton. He's still been very, very good. But if we want to be, and I don't want to be, this is not like disrespectful. I'm sure Rahun isn't watching. But if we want to be like a little bit more serious into scoring goals and trying to progress up the league and, having a different style of striker or maybe the same model of striker, whatever, it needs to be Muniz as the number 1 striker. If not, it needs to be Muniz, and we bring in a new striker in the summer to compete with Muniz for that number 1 or number 9 spot. And Jimenez is like on the side, not as the Vinicius, because that means he's next to no minutes, but just someone who's there, who can come on, do a job. And because of his age, the way his career's panned out, I think he'd be happy with that. I think that's probably why, I wouldn't say that's why we've extended his deal, because maybe, I think it's just like a just in case we don't get another striker. But I do think that we need a second striker. I think we need a new second goalkeeper to play the cup games. I don't think Bender's quite good enough, whether that's we sell him or he comes 3rd choice. But I think Borto should be 3rd choice coming through for the under-21s. So yeah, another comment from Cameron. Got to sign Ivanovic/Borja signs from the Championship. Look, I believe Borja signs is like winger/a 10. I've seen obviously, like I watched the Championship. I've seen obviously bits of what Borja's got in his locker. It'd be great to sign Borja signs. Honestly, he's such a good player, and Norwich are pretty prepared on losing him this summer. As well as Josh Sargent, who I wouldn't be surprised to link with Josh Sargent, as well as what's his face, Marcelino Nunez as well. Borja signs as like a left winger/a 10. I don't necessarily think Pereira's gonna stay this summer. We'd need a new number 10, or not. It really could be a case where, it's tough. It really could be a case and quite a statement. It'd be an ideal statement. I'd actually, this is tough. Would you take selling Pereira and giving Josh King the second 10 spot, who can also play in the 8, of course? Is it 3-1? No, 2-1. Who could also play in the 8, but being like, you're rotating with Smith Rowe as the number 10, but you're also rotating with Sasha Lukic and as the number 8 as well. Or I think we're bringing another 6. I think we should bring in another 8 as well. 2-0 Bernardo Silva. So I don't know what that does to the table. Someone's just sent me a tweet from Andy Naylor. João Pedro missed Brighton's win against Liverpool after training ground altercation with teammate Jan-Paul van Heck. I've always found João Pedro to be a bit of a weird one. Obviously got sent off a few weeks ago, 3-match ban. I can't actually remember who it was against. Was it Bournemouth? I can't remember. But yeah, and obviously wasn't involved last night. And Cameron, we seem like we're having a one-on-one chat right now, which is great. I mean, we didn't use AP on Sunday, but use Josh King. We know Marco doesn't use players if they ain't playing, like Anguissa. I think he's just on the squad list due to injuries. That was actually quite telling. Obviously, at that stage of the game, you would have usually had AP on. For obviously Smith Rowe, the fact we've got Josh on is really encouraging. I know Josh has been upset with the amount of minutes he's got this season. So hopefully that could be the case. I mean, I would love it. I mean, as much as I would like us to buy another quality 10 to compete with Smith Rowe, I'd also love it if we went, actually, you know what? We don't even need to spend this 15, 20, 25 million on a new 10 who's going to compete with Smith Rowe. Because one, Smith Rowe's got a 5-year deal. We should give him that sort of time to be like, you can get better. You can play in the number 10 role, advance your career, be stronger on the ball, link up better, because he was brilliant at times this season, but he's been obviously been a bit hot and cold. Not only that, but then we save ourselves money by not investing in a 10. In fact, I'm gonna go with this now. I'm gonna go with this. If we sell AP, we don't need to replace him because Josh can play number 10. Josh came on and played the number 10 role against Brentford and was brilliant. And he's only going to get better. It would make more sense because suddenly it just completely goes against what I just said. If we were to bring in a number 10 to compete with Smith Rowe, Josh, who obviously can play number 8 as well, but can play in the number 10, he then goes, well, if you're going to bring in another 10, I've now got to compete with him and Smith Rowe, and then you're bringing another midfielder, centre mid, and another 6 to compete with Sasha, compete with Sander. And Josh King's like, well, then I'm just a bench player who can come off the bench. When actually, if you don't do that, and Marco puts an arm around, let's say Marco's here, hopefully he's here next season, he puts an arm around him and says, you know what, we believe in you. We're going to sign a new contract with the club. Your long-term future will be here. It's almost like a Fabio situation where he's going to be, because obviously Fabio started as our number 10. Carvalho started as our number 10 in the Championship, again, against lesser opposition. So it was a little bit easier to blood him in. But if we had that confidence in 18-year-old Josh King to be like, you're competing with Smith Rowe for the number 10 shirt, not number 10 shirt, number 10 position next season, that's going to make him go, okay, I actually think I've got, not only am I in the squad list, I've actually got a pathway to play regular first team football. That is what should happen. Because I've been saying for weeks now that I don't think Pereira's going to be here. We should obviously get another 10 to compete with Smith Rowe. When actually, no, you've got your number 10 right there. King, who can play in 2 different positions. So it covers 2 bases as well. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't sign another centre mid to compete with Sasha Lukic, another CDM to compete with Sander Bergers. I think we need another one in. I think Harrison Reed might go. But it just means it would save ourselves so much money. So much money if we actually blooded in. And that's what everyone's been crying out for. I don't know why it's taken me so weeks to have this epiphany. Okay, let's move on. Cameron again. Ole, ole. Matt O'Reilly wants to leave Brighton. Swan song for him to return. Absolutely. And as soon as I saw that, I know. Can someone comment how I'm coming across? Because this Wi-Fi sign's been here for like 10 minutes. Sometimes it goes and it comes back. But I'd love to know. I'm going to ask you directly, Cameron, because it seems like you're still watching. We've almost got 300 people watching. I don't actually know if that's accumulation of people who've been watching on Twitter and sort of gone on and off. But anyway, I'm grateful for everyone being here. Matt O'Reilly, of course, if Brighton sell Matt O'Reilly, I think we should be in for him. But also, like, it'd be ridiculous to spend like 30 because they'll want to make a profit. They signed for 25 million. Spend like 30 to 35 million on a player who was here in the academy, who we sold for nothing. To Celtic, I believe it was Celtic. No, it was MK Dons. MK Dons took him, didn't they, first? It's lucky, but you're fine. Okay, that's good. I'm going to just continue if that's all right then. I promise I'll fix it for next time, which I believe will probably be sometime next week after the season's finished. Dark Wing WW9, not WW 009. Bloody hell. I think Cess being there and showing that the grass isn't always green and coming back and succeeding at Fulham will help King make a decision, hopefully. Really good point. And obviously, there's not only that, but you've got Fabio, you've got, I'd say Harvey Elliott's probably the one that has worked out. Musa Dembele. What is Musa Dembele up to these days? I don't even know where he is. Oh, he's in Saudi, isn't he? He's in Saudi. But that sort of did work out for him. He became a cult hero at Celtic for a few years, went to Lyon, played some Champions League football for both Celtic and Lyon. Oh, man. Yeah, really interesting. And obviously, I actually asked Ryan Sessegnon about Josh King, and he's like, "Oh, he's like a brother to me. I think this is the best club for him to be at the moment. He's got to be second choice to Smith Rowe. Like, maybe that is the plan. Maybe that's why. Who? Yeah, Cameron. Brilliant point. Pereira didn't come on. The thing is, I looked at Pereira's body language after the game because actually the cameras were panning to him. You can see it in the celebration. He didn't look upset. He didn't look like, oh, I can't believe I didn't come on. I think he was genuinely happy he won the game. But I do think he'll probably want to move on. He'll probably want to play for a team in Europe. I love the energy he brings. I think Josh King can bring that energy to the number 10 position, the way he's got to press, the way he's you got to press with the striker and obviously on the ball, he's fantastic. He's actually a player who, with Smith Rowe, sometimes he collects the ball in the 10 position. He sort of passes it back before going forward. The odd occasion he'll go forward first. And I think obviously that's what you've got to do more as his number, as the centre attacking midfielder. But Josh played with no fear on Sunday, and play with no fear means that you're brave and you can actually show people what you're made of. And he played predominantly as the centre fielder for the under 21s, and occasionally would play as the 10, as the player behind the striker, whether it be Callum or Lapilo Bai. But he was so comfortable in the midfield. But to play him a little bit further up, I think obviously, and this is just obviously obvious, like Cess did when Cess first came through. He was great on the ball, but he wasn't muscly as such. And obviously, if Josh gets a bit stronger with his upper body strength, he's still a growing boy. He's still only 18. And his height now is like 5'9", 5'10", so he'll probably get taller. Hopefully, he'll bring a little. That'll be more strength in his game. Yeah, that's got to be the plan. That's got to be the plan. And this summer, Marco could sit him down and say, "Look, this is what we're doing. You're going to be second choice number 10, almost like third choice centre mid. You'll play more minutes. Oh, I'm choo-choo. I'm on the train. Oh, yeah, talk about Luke Harris. Let's just get through all these comments. Also, don't think we need another 8. I think we should bring Seth up through the first 8. Whoa. Well, Seth Ridgen, I think I'd love to agree with you. I just think we're probably about a year away from that happening. I think he just needs a little bit more time. I think he's 17. He might even be 16, actually. I'll double check. He played today for the England under 17s, captain, set up the goal, gave away the free kick they scored from. By the way, it was an incredible free kick. But yeah, I mean, it's a good point, Cameron. And that's so exciting. Well, obviously, he's going to, we should caveat this with the fact that there are going to be other clubs sniffing around Seth and sniffing around Josh King, sniffing them. We also have Luke Harris coming back. We have plenty of players in the midfield unless we sell Luke. Yeah, Luke Harris is a weird one. Like when he was in the academy, he was doing so well. Everyone was like, "Oh my god, this guy's going to be the next big thing." He obviously gets loaned out. I think he might have played like a couple of games off the bench in the Carabao Cup or something. Maybe I can't even remember now. But yeah, another one who can come back, and obviously, he's got a promotion under his belt now with Birmingham. I just think that maybe he might be a little bit. I haven't seen enough of him play because obviously been at Birmingham, so I only just see him play a little bit more to make judgment on him. I think that probably King is the more naturally talented player right now. But obviously Harris could be an option, but then you've got a backlog of players. If it's like Harris, Ridgen, and King, this discussion I didn't have an idea of what we were going to talk about today, but I'm glad the discussion's being led by the comments and not by myself. I think that's exactly how it should be. Loads more comments coming in. What is going on? David Lumley, need to get the average age of the squad down. I completely agree. Sure, the age of the team was a major factor in the tail off at the end of the season. Yeah, I think that, and injuries. I think, you look at Reece Nelson's injury, he's out for half the season. He was out for half of the season. And actually, he made really good impacts. In Brentford at home, I seem to remember he was doing really well. I think it was Everton away, came off the bench and did really, really well. He's almost forgotten. That's why I asked Silver last week just about him, like, how disappointing has it been that he's been out for that amount of time? Does it feel like I said it's not like a waste, but it's almost like a missed opportunity for him? And obviously the possibility of signing him in the summer. And he basically said, look, we'll see what happens in the future. I might look at it. I wouldn't pay anything more than like 15, 20 million for Reece Nelson from Arsenal. I think Arsenal need to sell to buy. So there's also a chance there. Did we see enough quality from him to feel like he would justify a move permanently? Maybe. I think he'd be on the short list. I think he'd be on the short list for wingers. Oh, my Wi-Fi sign is now gone, which means hopefully it's more stable for days. Luke has blood on his hands for... oh, no, it's back now. Brilliant. It's back. What's that post about earlier today? New kit or... yeah, this one's a bit weird. I don't think it's a new kit because why has it got Robinson on the back? I think it's more of a... how the club store had those like summer t-shirts, Hawaiian t-shirt 2 years ago, back in like 2019. I think it's just one of them ones. I don't think it's anything to do with a new sponsor, a new kit, or anything like that. So yeah, we'll see. I should probably not look at the group chat, and I'm getting distracted. But thank you for all the comments. This is great because I really like the fact that obviously I came to talk about Harry. I wanted to talk about Harry Wilson. I wanted to talk about Brentford, but you guys are leading the conversation. Fantastic. We do have plenty to spend. Show Zhao, J Money. True. Our potential AEW sponsors. We have money to spend this summer. We have to be bold. Absolutely. This is such a huge summer for Fulham. And I think maybe 80-90% of the Premier League will say the same. It's a massive summer for them. But this is huge for Fulham. I don't care for the other clubs. I want to focus on Fulham. It's massive. It's massive. I mean, we spoke about Kenny Tete. That's still up in the air. Hopefully, that I really, really, God, I really hope that we keep Kenny Tete. Carl Walker-Peters now is going to be difficult to sign because he would probably be in favour of going to a club playing in Europe unless we could offer him a way beyond. I could see Palace signing Carl Walker-Peters and playing an understudy to Munoz. Maybe he'll be the first teamer. I think that him and Tete would be a great battle. I still think Tete would probably have to start for me just out of loyalty. You can't sign Tete down to Newcastle and actually play second fiddle to Carl Walker-Peters. I just don't think that's fair. I don't think Carl Walker-Peters will be at Fulham next season. I think he'll be at a club in Europe. Simple as that. And whether that's even like I wouldn't say Chelsea. I wouldn't say he obviously won't go back to Tottenham. But maybe not them. Maybe like a Forest with Ola Anya. Maybe even an Aston Villa. I mean, you could see it. You could see it happening. It's a huge, huge summer. And you're right. There is money to play with. I asked Marco last week. I said, do you have any idea of the budget? And he said, like, not yet, but we will know soon. we already have a plan in place, and then we will act accordingly according to that budget. I hope it's a case where he finds out. I hope it's not a case where he finds out the budget. He goes, "That's not good for me. I'm going to look elsewhere." In terms of, I think I can do better things at another club. What are we on in terms of percentage? 35%. Okay, we'll go for another 20 minutes or so. Yeah, brilliant. Great question, because this is what we're going to talk about all summer, where the narrative will keep moving, the story will keep moving, because things will happen and rumors will come through. There's so much about. I'm so excited. I love the speculation. Obviously, everyone loves speculation, but I'm not talking about like, oh, the move to Real Madrid this summer, who's going to move to Liverpool. I don't care for that. It's just this club. I'm interested in other clubs, you know, usually in the Championship and teams like that. But I really just focus on Fulham. That's why I do this. That's why I do the job, because it's all about Fulham. We're the biggest, best team in the world. Samuel Miss out on loan next season. Yeah, I mean, we could. This is what I do. I talk about academy players a lot in terms of what they could do next season. I think a misser. I think a misser. He 17. I think he might need one more year. But then again, like when you say it brought out on loan, like, could he hack it in League Two, hack it in League One, National League? Doesn't necessarily have to be in England either, does it? It could be anywhere. It could be anywhere. It could be abroad, a loan deal abroad. We had players who went out on loan to Belgium a few years ago. What's his name? Ivan Boat, he went to school with my brother, but now he's at Portsmouth. I haven't actually seen him how much football he's played at Portsmouth this year, but that's the point. I miss like all these players who've done so well for the under-21s. You can go through the whole under-21s team, and I can sort of try and list off. I've done Patreon a few weeks ago, so you should subscribe and go watch that video, because I basically list off everyone in the under-21s and say what they should do next season. Are you going out on loan, staying with the first team, or even staying with the under-21s, or going into the first team? Do you know how long Luke Harris's contract currently is? I could look it up. Transfer marked. They're usually pretty spot on. What's really funny, like I had no idea that Harry Wilson's contract was out of contract this summer, but it was when he signed. It was 2025 with an option to make it 2026, and we did. So whenever I asked Marco about it, it was always Adama and Raul minutes that were the main two that I would mention. Okay, Luke Harris. Oh, contract expires 31st, 2025. So that's this year. Oh no, hold on. Contract there expires. Oh no, that's his. Sorry, I didn't want to scare everyone. That's his contract with Birmingham, obviously, because he's on loan. His contract is up next for June 2026. Okay, so I was thinking even then, 31st of May. That's usually not what the deal is. So Luke Harris's contract is up at the end of next season. So you got one more year of him. And I remember being on the way to a game. I was on the coach, and then the news broke that he just signed a new deal. That was like the first season back in Prem. Maybe it was against Forest away or something like that. Liverpool away? Might have been Liverpool. That night we lost 1-0 to Mo Salah's penalty. Okay. I feel the question was going to come, wasn't it? You won't be able to find it, unfortunately, because I hear that I watched the highlights and they cut it, understandably so. They just didn't want to give it a bad rep, and then apparently they cut it from the 90 minutes. Well, I'm subscribed to FFC TV. It's a £5 a month, I think. Obviously, if you want to subscribe for a £5 a month, you can. You can find out for yourself. There's somewhere else you can subscribe for a £5 a month, and that is my Patreon. Obviously, I need to start plugging that in this stream. We got in a new member today, and I want to build it more over preseason, because I think preseason is where you're going to get some of the best content, because some of the access is really, really good. Obviously, touching wood, because I've got to rest it, and it's not given. It's not a given. But yeah, going back to it, it's not there. Basically, the only way you would have heard that is if you listen to it live. It happened. I'm not lying. Like, it definitely did happen. But yeah, I understandably the club have cut it, and I thought that they wouldn't, but maybe they just did because it maybe went on for a little bit longer than necessary. And yeah, that's all I'll say on it. It's disappointing because it would have been great to hear, and maybe one day they'll bring it out, but I can sort of understand why they didn't. It's not. I wouldn't say it's. We know what Jim's like. He did it at Cardiff away, didn't he? One time and that was published. Because I remember Cliche's picking it up for Cliche's podcast. He had back and forth with a Cardiff fan who was telling him off for, I don't know, shouting too loud or something. I don't know. And that was essentially what happened on Sunday. It's a thing we can't hear it because I would love to hear it back. But I just remember at the time, I've never been so shocked in a press box. It was unbelievable. Not that Jim had done that, but it's the response from the Brentford fans and the chaos it caused. But yeah. David Lumley, I'm really enjoying your comment. Thank you very much. It's much appreciated. 377 people are either watching now or have watched tonight, so I really appreciate that as well. I understand. People. I did it tonight because I think these games don't have a massive importance on Fulham's season, so hopefully more people would be more interested in watching this or listening at least to this than watching the games. Are we too sentimental? Probably. Only 5 clean sheets last night. At the beginning of the season, it was our best back four ever. How wrong was. So we got 5 clean sheets in the whole Premier League last season. I don't actually know how many it's been this season, actually. Not many. In terms of what, David, are we too sentimental towards Bernd Leno? Are we too sentimental just saying that we've got a really good back four? Our defence definitely needs work. But the problem is, and you might think I'm crazy for saying this, but I don't think the centre-backs needs to be looked at this summer at all. Which actually, understandably, how wrong was I? No, no, I get that, David. It's really difficult because it feels like if you don't do anything about the defence, it's just going to be the same as last season, as this season, i.e. making mistakes and goals, blah, blah, blah. But the amount of money we invested in Joachim Andersen to then go over and try and find, I guess, his replacement, because Calvin Bassey was the best centre-back we had this season. It feels as if, like, obviously it's going to make us stronger because we have Joachim Andersen, we'd have a centre-back going to be incredibly quality, who will bring in quality, and then Bassey. But then you've got Issa Diop and you've got Jorge Cuenca. And I think Cuenca is going to be an outstanding player for Fulham. We just haven't seen enough of him this season. I think Diop's actually done really, really well this season. He's made one mistake? He made one mistake. I can't remember who it was against, but he made a mistake. Robinson's obviously been great. He's tailed off a little. I think just down to the fact of the matter is the guy is up and down every week in, week out. He's obviously going to get tired towards the end of the season. Absolutely. And obviously now we're seeing Liverpool definitely going in for Kirkes. Hopefully that means we can keep Robinson. It's such a difficult one. It's such a difficult one. Because I genuinely think that not signing a centre-back this summer wouldn't be disastrous, because I think we've got 4 very good centre-backs. But you're right, they just need to tighten up because obviously they're conceding goals. It's weird to say that. I'm just very comfortable with the 4 we've got right now. And the only reason I say that, let me bring up this comment from Cameron. I think we need a right centre-back. Strong feeling Diop is leaving in the summer. Okay, no, fair enough. If you think that, then fair enough. And if you think he'll leave, then obviously we will really need to replace him. And I think we can upgrade on Diop. I just think that he's had a good enough season where I don't think we're going to sell him because I feel like he's a good option. However, you're right. If we want to progress, I think we can upgrade on him. And that means that Andersen would have much more pressure on him. Because if you think about it, Andersen has made quite a few errors this season, especially the last couple of weeks against Everton, gave away the penalty against Brentford, albeit was never a penalty. But the consequences of that hasn't really been this season. You're now in, where Diop's had a run of games. It's basically been Andersen's in, apart from that time where, okay, Andersen was good up until he got the injury. And he came back from injury. I think he was out for, I want to say it was over December because that's when Diop came in. Or maybe that was after the Wolves game. No, I can't. But anyway, I know he got injured. And he hasn't been as good since he came back from that injury. I think logically, we could replace Diop. with a better centre-back, right centre-back, and that puts more pressure on Anderson to up his game and hopefully brings better results from him and from the whole defence. Right back, I think that Castagna, as much as I absolutely love him, I still think we can upgrade him. Carl Walker-Peters, I keep mentioning him to say we have to sign on because he's so good. Cess is a great option at left back. Robinson's obviously fantastic. We keep both. I say both. I think will Cess will obviously stay. Hopefully we keep Anthony Robinson. Comments, Karen. I thought we had a partnership with some EU clubs as a youth setup. Reckon some players could go to our sister club. Do we have a sister club in Scotland? I haven't really heard much from that, to be fair. I think that was last summer we set that up. Sister club in Scotland. Pierce, hope you're doing well, mate. Do you reckon even this summer, seeing as he's probably wants to start? Maybe. You know what? I could see a scenario where the reason sort of backed no one to leave and everything to stay the same at the back is because we've got 4 pretty quality centre backs, and I feel like disrupting it could cause issues of continuity. But if we get one in early enough and we get pre-season, everyone gets together with the system and what we want to do and possibly out from the back, then obviously players can adapt, like Cuenca has. But I've liked Diop's contributions this season to the point where I'm like, well, it'd be hard to sell. But if it's flipped and he says he wants more first-team football and we can't provide that, it obviously opens the door for us to replace them with a better centre-back to compete with that, like I just said. And I could actually see a situation where Diop goes back to the league. Not back to, I don't actually remember if he came from them in the first place, but obviously he went to West Ham, goes to France, he plays in France for the next 2-3 years, where maybe he gets to be closer to family. And I think the league side would probably want to take him on. A Liga side would probably want to take him on. I think he's good enough to play Liga. Probably half the teams in Liga, to be fair. I think it's obviously a lesser league in terms of quality. But yeah, that's the stance. I've had a couple of epiphanies during this live stream about Josh King and about the Diop and right centre backs. But these comments are exactly what you want. You want to drive conversation to actually cause a debate, not an aggressive debate, but one where I start going, oh, actually, because I'm quite, it's in your own mind and you speak to. I don't speak to 409 people every week about our team. Obviously, 409 people aren't commenting, but they have been watching tonight. But I speak to maybe like 10 people a week about Fulham, like my group chat, my brothers and like people at press conferences and stuff. It's good to hear from people's other opinions because it makes you sit back and go, oh, actually, yeah, you're right. That could be a possibility. So doing these live streams are really beneficial in that case. And people can have opinions about, rumours and transfers. And that's why we'll do it all summer. We won't be going anywhere. Hopefully, touch wood, bloody hell. If Benny was to leave, who becomes the new club captain? Is Robinson that guy? Yeah, there's Marco's always spoke about. Marco Silva's always spoke about a group of captains that we have. Obviously, TC being club captain. Obviously, Tim Ream was one of those guys, and then we have Leno, who wore the armband, I believe, on Sunday. Robinson, probably Anderson could take the captain's armband. I think Rodrigo Muniz could. I think Sanderberger could. He's got all the attributes to it. Probably Salu could. I think that sort of group will change. But in terms of new club captain, I think it's got to be, like Robinson or Leno between those two. Think about how long they've been at the club for. Obviously, Robinson's been there longer. Yeah, I think probably maybe Cess. I'd like, obviously that would be nice for sentimental reasons, but maybe Kenny Tete. Right, in terms of the group, it would have to be someone within that group. So I'm guessing it'd be Leno or Robinson. Is Robinson that guy? I think so. I mean, I think everyone's got a pair of bollocks to talk to the referee when things aren't going right and they have something to complain about. So yeah, absolutely. Guy, I've been going for almost an hour now, and I enjoyed this. I think this has been really productive in the chat that we've had. And Cameron has basically ran this conversation. Captain, we want a long-term captain. He's your man. Yeah, I mean, if Josh was to sign a new 5-year deal, stay his 5 years, and then sign again, and you never know what could happen. I think he's a Fulham fan. He was brought up for Fulham since he was like 8 or 9. So you never know. You never know. But yeah, future captain maybe. Future captain maybe. Yeah, this has been really fun. I've really enjoyed this stream. And this is one where nothing much has really happened in terms of no real driving conversation. There's no real, rumor that's just dropped. Obviously, we started with talking about Harry Wilson, which obviously annoyed me the way that story came out and the timing of it. Southampton identified Lens manager Will Still, preferred candidate for vacant role at relegated Premier League club. Will Still to the Championship. I think it was only a matter of time before he came to the Championship to ply his trade, to become a manager in England. I thought maybe I'm actually not surprised that he's gone to the Championship, because you're not going to go from Ligue 1 in France to like League One in England. I think that they're probably on par with each other in terms of trajectory. So, and obviously, if you think about it, Southampton are a newly relegated club. He could have got a Premier League job, but I think Southampton makes sense. Although I genuinely thought that Danny Roll was nailed on for Southampton. However, I think Thomas Frank was good to Spurs. Danny Roll straight into Brentford. I'd put money on it. It's almost a perfect fit. Just in terms of his philosophy, the way he speaks. Obviously, Danny Roll was linked with Fulham as well, wasn't he? A few weeks ago, a couple years ago. I think we should talk about Marco Silva. I think that's really important that we talk about Marco Silva. I'm going to say now from Friday, which ironically wasn't really when he was that open about his future. It was the previous week that he was. From Friday on the press conference before Brentford, I now think if someone put a gun to my head and said, I'm going to pull the trigger unless you say what you think is going to happen with Marco Silva, I think he's going to stay next season. 3-1 Crystal Palace is an Eddie Nketiah hat-trick. God, I thought Wolves would really, I suppose Palace are flying high. I thought maybe they'd be a little bit hungover. Ben Chilwell has scored on loan from them lot. Is he on loan? I think he is. I think Marco Silva is going to stay. Would it be just for one more year, see out his contract, and then after 5 years we go, yeah, thank you very much. You take it as far as we can, and we'll go our separate ways. I think he's going to stay, and if we get into Europe next season, we'll try and down to a new contract all of next season. I'm sure we'll try and time down to a new deal. But I don't believe, as in I think, and I have no intel whatsoever. Just from my personal opinion, the way he's interacted, especially after Sunday, and the emotion of that, I think he's going to stay next season. Hopefully he does. There's so many question marks though. If he doesn't stay, and some of all those players who think they've got opportunity, much like the conversation we've just had about Josh King, it all gets thrown up into the air, and that makes things incredibly, incredibly complicated. He's attractive club. He keeps saying that, and yeah, I want him to stay, and I think we should leave it on that. A couple more comments from Cameron, of course. Thank you, Cameron. I hope you've subscribed to the YouTube channel, and you should subscribe to Patreon, because you have been a fantastic contributor this evening. I'm enjoying Patreon content. It's a $5 a month. I understand if I understand the financial situation and stuff, but a $5 a month. If you think about a price of a pint that you'll pay at a pub, that £5 a month isn't really a lot, and you get a lot for that. Daily Fulham content. Now, I must be honest with everyone, I'm changing up for next season, where it's not going to be daily, but it will be more quality content. That's not me saying I'm going to put my feet up and do nothing. I'm going to work harder at the content I make, quality, and it's going to be different but better, because a lot of the content I made this season is like everyday discussions, everyday chatting, every day, when actually there's not much to talk about. But it's going to be very much focused on better quality content. I've got better quality kit now, which is great. And I'm looking forward to bringing that all for you next season. Subscribe to Patreon. It's so much fun. You get loads of stuff. Pre is going to be available, hopefully. And yeah, I really wanted Europe to work out because it would have been so good for the Patreon in terms of what we could have produced and stuff. But it wasn't meant to be. But that's not going to stop me next season. Let's end with these 2 comments. We haven't assessed in the first team. Oh yeah, I think Caden says. I know there's a setting on like the under 11s or something at the moment. Marco wouldn't submit his plans on who he wants unless he's staying. That's true, but I'm sure they talk over targets and stuff. I know what you mean. I know what that comment means in terms of it could all be ripped up and a new manager could come in and stuff, whatever. But yeah, I know what you mean, Cameron. But things could still change, of course, if he's tempted away. And again, it goes back to what I said at the start of the stream. The Spurs game tomorrow night, massive. Do we? It's interesting. There's 2 sides of the coin because it's like you're sort of relying on Spurs to basically. I want Spurs to win so that there's more chance of stays. However, if Spurs keep to what is reported and they sack Ange, even if they win, and in the Champions League football, if Marco gets offered the job, which I don't necessarily think he's in, I don't think he's first choice. Let's just say that. I don't think he's first choice. But if he gets offered the job and offered the chance to manage in the Champions League, we're in Michael Truble. We are in serious Michael Truble. Would you take Ange Postecoglou? No one's commented that, but would you take Ange Postecoglou at Fulham and he swaps it? That would be really interesting. I obviously wouldn't do that because of maybe with less pressure. Maybe with less pressure, he'd do better. Would you guys take Ange Postecoglou at Fulham and do a little swap? I haven't even thought about that ever. I wonder if he gets sacked. If it's sacked, where's his stock going to be? Where's he going to go next? Because he's not going to just pack it in, is he? He's not going to go back to Australia. There's enough credit in the bank for him to get a job somewhere. Yeah, to go from top, that's a really interesting conversation. It's a conversation for another day. Would he get him a Premier League job? He probably would. Or would he? I don't know. What a interesting discussion point that is. To be fair, my battery is still on 12%. I can still go for a bit. Thoughts on drop point winning? What can it be down to? Yeah, it's one of them ones. It's tough. Concentration, substitutions, which is ironic because most of the substitutions that we've seen season have been incredibly positive because they've contributed in us getting goals and points, stuff like that. Record Premier League number of goals from substitution, like 17. But yeah, it's going to be like lack of concentration, taking the foot off the gas, not taking games to opposition when we've been in the lead and sitting back and inviting pressure, bring on a 5th defender. You know, there's loads of factors. Injuries. I know Mark always says it's not an excuse, but injuries do play a part. You know, had a Reece Nelson coming off the bench to be a little bit on the bit of speed. You know, if Sparks maybe, I don't like talking about it. It's obviously a massive concern. It's a massive talking point. But we'll look back on the season and point fingers and say this is the reason why we didn't get Europe. Absolutely agree. But it's a great point, Throbbing Hood. Throbbing Hood. It's a great name. Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? It's something I don't like talking about it because it makes me sad. But it's an elephant in the room, isn't it? And obviously, if we'd have lost, we were in the lead against Brentford, we were 2-1 down. I was thinking, here we go again. That would have been 31 points, I believe. So, God, that would have been horrendous. But we beat Brentford. I think that's what everyone should be celebrating right now, obviously. Enjoyed this and thanks. Oh, thanks, David. It's been fantastic. Thank you so much for being part of it. I'm actually not going to finish just yet because everyone's got more comments. I want to talk about this Ange situation a little bit more. I would take Ange because every manager that has left Spurs has succeeded. That's a really good point. Espirito Santo being one. Jose Mourinho, okay, he's always had success really wherever he goes, but trying to think of the last. Oh, Antonio Conte, yeah, I suppose he's gone on to do okay back in Italy. Where's he managing now? Is it Napoli? Is he Napoli? My Italian knowledge should be better. I have a very good friend who supports Hellas Verona, so I look out for their results. But yeah, I know that titles go down to the final day, isn't it, between Inter Milan and Napoli? Inter obviously in the final. But yeah, that's a really good point, Darkwing 00. I would take Ange because every manager's left Spurs has succeeded. That's obviously his opinion. And yeah, you just imagine like the pressure's off a little bit. The pressure's off a little bit of Ange. You know, he's not under so much scrutiny where when he first joined, He had this persona there and came across. He was like, oh, it's a breath of fresh air from Ange Postecoglou. Then the pressure cranked up a little bit. The crack began to, in terms of his persona and his post-match interviews. He'd nibble a little bit, and obviously that's not because he's not a nice person. That's because he's asked difficult questions, and the scrutiny's tougher because it's Spurs. And it's a bigger club. Oh, someone's just sent me a tweet. Oh, I thought it was going to be Fulham related. It's not. Huddersfield are in talks with Ruben Sayes. That would make sense. I don't. I'll sack him. I think that was so harsh. I thought that was really, really harsh. Obviously, I don't want to force staying on the stream longer than I need to be. I don't overstay my welcome, even though it's my stream. But the Ange chat. That's okay. Would you rather have Ange Postecoglou as your Marco next season? Marco Silva every day of the week, every day of the year. But look, he hasn't confirmed. Someone said they're a Spurs fan. Spurs fan here. Fulham would be in trouble if they get Ange. I mean, the evidence to go off in terms of where Spurs are this season, you're completely right. Fulham will be in a relegation battle in any other season. It just so happens that Spurs have got away with one this season because the three promoted teams have been so poor. I'd especially say Southampton and Leicester. I think Ipswich a little bit, but even then haven't been good enough. Any other season, Spurs would have been in a relegation battle. And that's not only Spurs, that's Man United as well. That's Wolves. That's West Ham. Everton have done a little bit better. But yeah, if that's actually interesting. Like 2 or 3 Premier League teams have completely got away with one this season in terms of there's been next to no jeopardy in terms of relegation this season. Graham Potter's come in. And that's obviously, again, another team that's going to next season. I'd imagine Graham Potter's a great manager with really good connections, and obviously has done really good recruitment work with Brighton when he's been at Brighton. If he brings that sort of style and implements that at West Ham, I think they'll do really, really well, especially if they get money for Kudos, who might leave. I don't think Bowen will leave. Someone said to me, saying if Bowen wasn't with Danny Dyer, he would leave West Ham, and it feels as if because of that relationship he's sort of stuck at West Ham. Not saying that being at West Ham is a bad thing in terms of Jared Bowen. I don't believe there's another club that Bowen could go to where he gets enough minutes, the minutes he's getting at West Ham, and the goals and the assists he's getting at West Ham. Maybe Spurs, but they've got like Brennan Johnson. They've now got Oliver as well, so it'd be tough. I think West Ham. I don't know, because I feel like I don't know why I'm talking about Jared Bowen. I'm off now. I'm not talking about Fulham, but yeah, just interesting topics, interesting discussion points. I'll leave it there. I feel like I've ran this race now. 12 minutes is absolutely fine. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do. It will come back, I promise you, with regular content. And of course, Patreon. I have to plug it. £5 a month, $6 if from America or overseas, or whatever currency that you guys have. And yeah, I think you would absolutely love it. It's really fun. You obviously get some properly good interviews. You get to see the press conferences as well, pre and post match, embargoed sections. Of course, you see all the quotes on Twitter, but it's easier to listen to it in full to understand the full context, and that's what I provide. So it is a wonderful place to be. I don't know anything about preseason. I don't know anything about where I'm going to be. Gun to my head, where do I want to be? I want to be back in the Algarve. I thought it was so fun last time. Algarve for 3 games. I might have to miss one because I've got a wedding I've got to be at. And then to the cottage for one more game before the season starts at Cottage. And I think there will obviously be 3 or 4 games behind closed doors where you can't access them, and you have to sort of find out like after the game what the scores and who scored and stuff like that. But so much to come as Wolverhampton Wanderers make it 3-2 through Strand Larson. 20 minutes to go there. I might have to put it on. It seems like it's a good game. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy your evening. We'll be back again soon with another live stream. Take care, guys, and welcome, Fulham.